In episode 46, Sensitivity and Drivers, Tornado Explained, we focus on a simple discipline with outsized payoff. Find what truly matters before you spend energy fixing what does not. Budgets, schedules, and risk registers often swell with detail until everything looks important. Sensitivity analysis cuts through that noise. By testing how outcomes move when you nudge key factors, you reveal which levers deserve attention and which can wait. The visual many people know is the tornado chart, but the real value is the thinking behind it. With plain language and a few careful steps, you can surface the handful of drivers that move the result. Begin by distinguishing true drivers from mere inputs. A driver is a factor that, when shifted within a realistic range, changes the outcome in a meaningful way. A mere input may be necessary for completeness, yet has almost no effect on the result. Think of a driver as the volume knob, while a mere input is the balance slider that barely moves the sound. You identify drivers by asking a simple question. If this number rises or falls, does the decision change? If the answer is no, it is probably not a driver. The method rests on the one-at-a-time variation concept. You hold the model steady at a reasonable base case, then vary a single input while keeping the others fixed. The aim is to isolate each factor's independent effect on the outcome. This isolation matters because intuition tends to bundle changes together and overestimate their combined power. By moving one piece and watching the result, you learn the shape of influence rather than guessing. It is controlled curiosity applied to numbers, revealing cause and effect without turning the exercise into guesswork. To make the exercise honest, identify plausible high to low ranges for each candidate driver. Plausible means defensible in front of people who know the work. For a labor rate, the range might reflect a likely market swing. For a yield, it might reflect learning curve effects or known quality spread. The range should be wide enough to capture real variability, yet not so wide that it drifts into fantasy. Tying ranges to evidence, benchmarks, contracts, recent history prevents the quiet slide from sensitivity into speculation. After you vary each driver, rank them by the size of their impact on the outcome. The impact is the swing between the low-bound result and the high-bound result. The largest swing goes to the top of the list, and so on down the line. This ranking becomes the backbone of your narrative. It tells leaders which uncertainties dominate and where additional information or mitigation will make the most difference. The pattern nearly always surprises teams. What felt big in meetings sometimes barely moves the needle, while a quiet assumption turns out to be decisive. A tornado chart is simply a picture of that ranking, drawn as horizontal bars from low to high impact and sorted from longest bar to shortest. The widest bar sits on top, the narrowest on the bottom, so the figure looks like a funnel cloud. You do not need the picture to tell the story. Say it out loud. The outcome is most sensitive to supplier yield, then to test throughput, then to shipping time, and far less to unit labor rate. The image helps, but the ordering is what matters, because it directs attention and investment. Watch for non-linear response behavior while you test. Some drivers do not produce a straight, even change in the outcome. A small push may have almost no effect until a threshold clicks, then the result jumps. Other drivers may saturate, where early improvements help a lot and later improvements help very little. To detect this, take a third reading near the middle of the range and compare the slope on both sides. If it bends, name the bend. Nonlinear behavior often signals hidden constraints or step costs that deserve a closer look. Once you have a clean ranking, combine drivers for scenario stress. Choose a few realistic pairings that could occur together, such as slower test throughput during a seasonal shipping crunch. You are not trying to engineer the worst imaginable world. You are exploring believable combinations that might challenge the plan. Walk through the combined effect on outcomes and note where buffers or reserves would be consumed faster than progress warrants. This step translates independent leverage into lived risk, helping you prepare without resorting to fear or exaggeration. Validate your ranges with domain experts before you lock conclusions. Invite the manufacturing lead to react to the yield bounds, the finance partner to react to exchange assumptions, and the legal counsel to react to approval durations. People are more willing to accept a ranking when they see their fingerprints on the inputs. Validation is not a popularity vote, it is a reality check. It also flushes out hidden constraints and edge cases you would otherwise miss. When ranges reflect the wisdom in the room, sensitivity results gain authority. Aim response strategies at the top drivers first. If supplier yield dominates, you might fund an early qualification round, negotiate tighter acceptance criteria, or design for easier rework. If test throughput dominates, you might parallelize fixtures or simplify scripts to cut cycle time. If shipping time dominates, you might preload long lead components or choose a nearer vendor for critical parts. Each response narrows the range of the dominant driver, which narrows the outcome. That is the essence of leverage. Small moves in the right place change the whole picture. Revisit drivers as new data arrive. Sensitivity is not a one-time exercise. It is a living map of where uncertainty lives today. When a pilot shifts your understanding of yield, update the range and rerun the ranking. When a contract fixes a price band, collapse that driver and see what rises next. Over time, the top bars should shrink and shuffle as your actions work. This movement is a quiet measure of progress. It shows that learning and decisions are turning risk into routine. Communicate insights without heavy math, focusing on order, magnitude, and action. Start with the short headline. 2 drivers explain most of our outcome variability. Then give the ordered list and the rough size of each swing in everyday terms. Tie each driver to a specific response and the effect of that response on the range. Avoid decimal dust or exotic metrics. People remember stories about leverage, not 3-place precision. When the message is clear, stakeholders align quickly because they see where effort buys certainty. Keep an eye out for correlated drivers masquerading as independence. If 2 inputs share a cause, like 2 tasks that draw on the same scarce expert, treat them as a group in your story. Independent testing is still useful for ranking, but your scenarios should reflect the tie. Correlation can amplify swings in uncomfortable ways, turning a manageable top bar into a too-wide envelope. Naming the linkage stops you from promising a diversified plan that does not actually diversify. It also points you toward mitigations that break the tie. Finally, remember that sensitivity is a diagnostic, not a verdict. It tells you where to look and what to try, not what you must do. Decisions still balance cost, time, and value. A dominant driver might be hard to influence, and a smaller driver might be cheap and quick to tame. Say that out loud. The art is in pairing the ranking with practical levers and the strategy you serve. Sensitivity supplies clarity. Leadership supplies choice. Together, they move a plan from fragile optimism to informed control. Concentrate effort where it is most impactful and results compound. By separating true drivers from background inputs, varying one factor at a time, ranking the swings, and checking for nonlinear bends, you build a crisp map of leverage. Validated ranges and simple scenarios keep the map honest. Focused responses shrink the top bars first, then the next, improving confidence without drowning the team in complexity. The tornado chart may be the symbol, but disciplined sensitivity is the substance. It is a calm, repeatable way to put energy where it counts. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.